What if ancient myths were not myths at all? What if the Titans, the Nephilim, and the Watchers were never separate stories, but they were the same beings, remembered by different civilizations under different names? And what if their bloodline didn't vanish after the flood? It simply diluted into human populations and continues to quietly influence modern power structures today. Stay tuned. So first, the ancient texts line up far more than people realize. In the Greek Septuagint of the Old Testament, the Septuagint is the Hebrew word for Nephilim is translated directly as gigantes, which is odd. And the Greek word for giants is also gigantes, which is a word used for the Titans. This is not a coincidence. It suggests that ancient Hebrew, Greek, and Near Eastern cultures were remembering the same group of tall, powerful, knowledge-giving beings who came down, interacted with humans, and left a lasting mark. The Book of Enoch describes the Watchers. They are humanoid divine beings who descended to Earth and became enamored with supposedly human women and then produced hybrid offspring called the Nephilim. These giants were described as very tall, physically dominant, and often with unusual traits like red or blonde hair. And they possessed enhanced strength. If you remember the giant of Kandahar, there's also other similar stories like that. They taught humanity forbidden arts. Now look at Greek mythology. The Titans were a prior ruling class of giant humanoid beings who interacted with humans. They produced hybrid offspring and were eventually overthrown by the Olympian gods, and they were imprisoned in Tartarus. The parallels are very, very interesting. Both groups descend from a higher realm, both produce giant offspring with humans, and both teach civilization, altering technology and knowledge, and then both are punished by being bound or imprisoned. This isn't limited to Greece and the Bible. You also see the same pattern repeated across many, many cultures. The Sumerian Anunnaki, sky gods who descend and then create hybrid beings, Hindu deities, and Danavas, which are giant asuras born from divine unions. The Norse Jotnar, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but massive giants who clash with the gods. Mesoamerican sky beings who produce demigods and giants. So there's these multiple independent civilizations who couldn't have known the other civilization, and they're remembering tall, fair, or powerful gods that came down and mated with locals and then produced this giant lineage. This level of consistency points to a shared memory of something real. So now let's talk about biology. So modern genetics already proves that hybridization between different but closely related species, especially hominid, happened repeatedly in human evolution. We carry Neanderthal and Denisovian DNA, up almost 4 to 6% in many populations. That means interbreeding between similar humanoid lineages is not only possible, but it actually happened, and it left lasting genetic traces. So here's the theory that I'm working with. The advanced beings described as Nordics in modern UFO encounters are the same as the Watchers or Sons of God. These beings are consistently reported as being tall, fair-skinned, blonde or red-haired, blue-eyed, fully humanoid, and not so benevolent. Mammalian as well. In this model, Nordic beings came to Earth, and I think they mated with the female Denisovian or the relict hominids. They were upright, walking, hairy, robust primates that shared our mammalian body plan and likely represent an undiscovered branch of the hominid family. So the offspring of that union would be then the Nephilim. So amplified humanoids with extreme height, unusual hair, pigmentation, enhanced strength, and cognitive advantages or disadvantages as well. So exactly what ancient texts described as mighty men. So this explains why global myths portray the giants as enlarged humans. And I should point out, not scaly monsters or ape men or reptilians, but human proportion warriors and demigods with human-like faces. Again, the Kandahar giant, okay? And their legacy didn't disappear. I think it diluted into human bloodlines over generations. Traits like exceptional height and robustness and even certain hair colors maybe could have come through these lineages. So interestingly, studies have shown that CEO, politicians, and high status leaders are noticeably taller than average. Approximately 1/3 are taller than the civilization, which is 6'4" or taller, only 3% is. So look at the symbolism that still surrounds us. We name most of our powerful technology companies after titans and after Greek gods. Titan rockets, Atlas space programs, Saturn rockets, Apollo missions, the golden Prometheus statue at Rockefeller Center, the Titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. This inscription reads, Prometheus, teacher in every art, brought the fire that hath proved to mortals a means to mighty ends. Now, that's from the Rockefellers. We carved that into stone in 1934, in the center of global financial power. Okay, companies named after titans keep becoming dominant forces in aerospace and pharmaceuticals and in energy. Either it's coincidence or someone understands the symbolic weight of naming something after a god. And in Diana Pasulka's book, Tim Taylor tells her that he named the NASA patches after certain gods because it was to appease his sponsors. And the reptilian narrative is a deliberate misdirection or a psyop designed to shift attention away from the humanoid Titan Nephilim pattern and towards something more frightening and more alien. So when experiences report encounters with tall, fair, guided beings, there's documented attempts, including offers of funding, to convince them that the beings were reptilian instead. Chris Bledsoe.
They were offering to produce a movie about us. And they wanted Dad to sign a contract where he would have a monthly retainer fee, $15,000 a month for the rest of his life. They would use the Chris Mellon, Chris Mellon, he's one of the core members.
I do, yeah.
He would fund the movie. And it would be like a big budget Hollywood movie, but there was a catch. It had to be spun in a way that there was reptilians.
That fear-based framing keeps people divided, it discredits the topic, and it hides the deeper continuity here. So maybe the Titans and the Nephilim weren't destroyed. Maybe they were imprisoned. And maybe their influence was never fully erased. Their names are still carved into our rockets, into our statues, into our power structures. The question isn't whether or not they were real. The question is, why has every major civilization remembered them? And why are we still honoring them today? What do you think? Does this line up with you? Please drop a comment below and let me know.